Hello, and welcome to the Culture Beats podcast, featuring conversations about pop culture and many other aspects of life. I'm your host, Chris Bournet. If you grew up loving movies like me, which ones had the most profound effect on you? Which movies shaped the way you see the world and made it seem like anything was possible, even if you didn't grow up with money or any kind of privilege? I reveal the movies that influenced me in that way in this conversation with Ira Cross, filmmaker, actor, model, and all around arts advocate. Ira also shares his selections for his own Mount Rushmore of movies, so to speak. Without further ado, here's our conversation. Well, Ira, thank you for taking the time to speak with me for the podcast. I appreciate it.
For sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the intro, I talked about how you're multi-hyphenate. So, as an actor and filmmaker, as two of your primary roles,
Yeah.
I asked that we could talk about our Mount Rushmore of movies
Yeah.
that inspired us. And then we can get into, how you got into acting and projects you're working on. But I kind of wanted to start out with that. So,
Yeah.
and then, if you want to share yours, I will also share my picks for the Mount Rushmore. And it's funny, I
Or
started to say, what are five movies that inspired you? Because that's kind of,
five.
people, when they make listicles, it seems to be multiples of 10. But I'm like, wait a minute, I got
Oh,
to look up, does Mount Rushmore actually have five presidents on
yeah.
it? So don't ask me to name the four that are on it. But I
Yeah.
guess I could have said Mount Olympus. And then we
That's a
could,
that
yeah.
would be technically 12 if you go Mount Olympus, if my mythology, my Greek mythology is
Oh,
accurate.
okay. Okay. I didn't realize that. I
I
was just
think
thinking of like a mountain with
yeah,
like,
it's big things.
yeah.
Impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no, just to dive in and answer your question, as I look at my notes because I really considered this question, I was like, even before I answer the question, I was thinking like, man, do I actually have four that are consistent? And the answer is no. I'm just
Okay.
gonna be straight up. The answer is no. I feel like if I thought about it now, it would change from what I wrote down when you originally asked me the question, like when you asked me to be on. But what I came up with, I was like, what are the first four that come to mind that are impactful, that are all somewhat different and not just in genre but like in style and stuff like that too. So the first one, which is super impactful in my life, and I know the folks listening can't hear it, but I know you can see it, my Ninja Turtle I got right here.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
would say the first one would say the 1989 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. Like, it was just, I don't know, man. It was just it was really my whole childhood, to be really really straightforward.
Hmm.
They actually had a re-release in theaters, and I went to that and checked it out by myself and was just in the theater enjoying myself. And it was just a super nostalgic moment. Like, I'm to be real, I cried, but I was like, man, this is just, my life has come full circle to be able to enjoy this movie in theaters. Because I mean, I was born in 1989, so I didn't see when it came out in theaters,
Okay.
but
Okay.
but it was really cool to see that movie in theaters. And the next one would be Malcolm X, the Spike Lee joint. Uh,
Hmm.
Alex Haley told it first. Spike Lee introduced it to me. So being able to see it and feel it, and that could be a whole podcast in and of itself, just talking about that movie.
Yeah.
But it's another very impactful movie on my life for a very different reason than Ninja Turtles, right? As a black man, being able to see someone like Malcolm X portrayed by someone like Denzel Washington is just, like I said, a whole podcast could be done off of that alone.
Absolutely.
Next, right? The next one, Coming to America. It's a classic comedy. It's a classic comedy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I actually was going back and forth between a few different comedies, and I was like, just go with Coming to America. If it changes, it changes, but just stick with this right now. It's a classic comedy. There's so much comedic genius in the movie. And if you really stop and pause and think about it, it's a romance. It's a rom-com. It's not even really a straightforward comedy.
Yeah.
It really is. And so for it to be like a true love story told in a comedic way is just, anybody who hasn't seen it, you don't know what I'm talking about. But everybody who has seen it, they know, like, yeah, I know, I got you, I'm with you. So yeah, Coming to America is a great one, and it's so quotable, super quotable, and that's actually another theme for all of these movies, is that all of them are very quotable movies. Like, I
Hmm.
can sit there and quote at least five lines just off the top of my head for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the same for Malcolm X, and the same for Coming to America, and then the last one, the same for V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta is my favorite comic book and my favorite book. So I absolutely had to see the movie. And seeing the movie, it's one of those movies and books that like it's not pound for pound exactly the same, but they stack up very well together. So to be able to have that in film form is great. And then if you think about current societal situations, whew,
Oh
it's
yeah,
interesting. It's interesting. But
very
yeah, those are
timely. Yeah.
yes, those are that's my Mount Rushmore for now. But I would say V for Vendetta, Coming to America, Malcolm X, and the OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's very diverse, a very
Right.
eclectic list. Yeah.
For sure.
So if I remember, so I was born in 72, so I'm what,
Okay.
17 years older than you.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
I remember seeing Ninja Turtles at least because there like a sequel to
there's
this.
three altogether from the
Okay.
same. I mean, there's a bunch of movies that have been made, but there's three from that original trilogy. The first one was '89. The second one was like '91, I
Okay.
think, and I think the third one came out in '93 or two. And the third one, they like went to Japan, and I was like,
Oh
cool,
wow.
I'm in. So, but yeah, Ninja Turtles, man.
So I think I saw the second one because Columbus, Ohio, where we both live, there
Hmm.
used to be a second run theater on Bryce Road on the east side.
Okay.
And I remember going to the theater with some friends of mine to see the second Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the first Ninja Turtles. I didn't know it was there was a
Oh,
second
that's so funny.
time.
Yeah.
And because I think that's the one, didn't Vanilla Ice have like a
Yep.
theme song to, okay,
Yep.
that's the
Go
one I
Ninja,
saw.
go Ninja, go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. That was like back in that whole 90s era when rap, like they would pair hip hop songs with movies that didn't, like for example, Hammer did the theme song to the Addams Family,
Yeah,
Addams
and
Crew.
that was yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that was funny. I actually heard that like last week sometime. I was hanging out in the bar, and I was actually hanging out setting up for another podcast, and in the bar that we work out of, and the music video on I think it was VH1 technically, and it was the music video for MC Hammer's. I was like, I forgot about this song.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yep, yeah, it was such an interesting matchup, and I really think that's something that definitely could come back. Like start putting hip hop artists with a movie that you feel like does not need a hip hop artist, and it'll
yeah,
connect with people, or even maybe not even like a hip hop artist, but like put an artist that typically wouldn't go with another type of genre of movie or show, and see how that connects different audiences. Because I bet you there's so many people that were like, who's Vanilla Ice, or who's
yeah,
MC
yeah.
Hammer, and because they watched the movie, because it's such an easy thing to connect to. So
Yeah, and I think that's also a testament to how pervasive, even as early as the 90s, that hip hop was in culture.
yeah.
Like even even a comic book brand like or is it comic book or video game Ninja Turtles? Or
Well, I mean,
both?
they had all of it. They had comic books,
Okay.
they had video games. If I'm not mistaken, it actually got turned into a TV show, like the cartoon
Oh,
TV
right, right.
show, because they were trying to sell the toys. And
Okay,
that was like a
okay.
very common thing back in like the 80s. So,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. But what I was going to say is like it just shows how pervasive, even back in the 90s, that hip hop, the influence
Hmm.
on culture, that even mainstream movies that were geared toward children were featuring hip hop artists. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And it was something that it was so like, I'm sure a lot of like adults like back then were like, okay, random putting this guy in here. But
yeah,
it was such an easy fit. Like I can't disassociate Vanilla Ice from the Ninja Turtles. I just
yeah,
can't.
yeah. Me neither.
I that's him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very interesting thought. But you were saying you had your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, so I can go through mine, and we can kind of discuss each other's more.
Absolutely.
So, we're in a filmmaker group,
Yep.
and the other night we just happened to be talking about like stereotypical roles for Black
Yeah,
males. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because my Mount Rushmore actually has two female-centered movies in it,
I
and
love
I
that.
know there are going to be people that are like, you're a man. Why did these movies with women as the central characters, why did they inspire you?
Hmm.
And I don't think that movies should be a gendered thing. I mean, there are
Yeah,
movies that are more intentionally geared toward
sure.
women or toward men or certain demographic,
Right.
whatever. But I think movie fans are movie fans.
Yes.
So growing up in Generation X, as I
Mhm.
did, so these movies were formative for me because they were just back when monoculture was a thing, when everybody watched the same movies and listened to the same music.
Yeah.
these movies were iconic for my generation and they
Sure.
inspired me in particular. So I'll just go in chronological order.
Mhm.
The first one, and this is the first female-centered movie, even though it's probably not thought of that way, The Wizard of Oz,
Wow.
the version
Yeah.
with Judy Garland.
Yeah.
And the reason why it was so influential is because when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, they had started showing it every year on TV.
That's
And that's
right.
how that's the movie was originally considered a flop. And
Yeah.
then it wasn't until it was initially like I think it was theatrically re-released in the 50s. Then
Okay.
when they started showing it on television, that's when it really became a classic. It wasn't upon its initial release.
Hmm.
So it was just something about this very innocent character, this farm girl from Kansas, even though Columbus is not a rural town,
Right.
it's a small enough Midwestern city that I could
Right.
relate to the journey. And I
Yeah.
always say being in show business and staying in a city like Columbus, I always feel like I always say I have one foot in black and white Kansas and another foot in Technicolor Oz.
I
So
love that.
it was just the journey of like kind of like a quest for I don't know, trying to fulfill a dream, even though it was just a simple dream of trying to go back home, Dorothy trying to get back home, and
Yeah.
then making friends along the way, and then having obstacles put in your way, and then, the ultimate villain, the Wicked Witch. It was
Right.
just something that just, and, the witch didn't scare me when I was a kid, and neither did the flying monkeys. What scared
Mhm.
me was the cowardly lion. When the
Really?
lion jumped out of the forest, I
Yeah.
would turn the TV off. And I think I was terrified of dogs when I was a kid. I think
Got
the
you.
lion acted like a dog more than
He
a
did. He even said roof. Like,
yeah. So I think that like instilled like this fear of dogs in me.
interesting.
So yeah, that movie was influential on a number of different levels for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So the second movie on my Mount Rushmore is Purple Rain. And anybody that
Classic.
knows me, knows that I'm a huge Prince fan.
Yeah.
Actually just did a symposium sponsored by or organized by D'Angela Duff, who's a professor at NYU. She
Okay.
does symposia about because she's a scholar, she's a music scholar, and she
Sure.
does symposia about Prince's life. So I got to actually I did two
Oh,
this year.
that's
So
cool.
the reason why Purple Rain influenced me is because number one, it's set in Minneapolis, where Prince was
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
mid-sized Midwestern city, just like Columbus. In the movie, although both Prince's parents were black, in the movie his mother's white and his father's black. So
Hmm.
I grew up in an interracial family. Both
Mm,
my parents are black, but I have three white step parents and four biracial siblings.
yeah.
And so I saw not only the interracial aspect of my family on screen, but also the dysfunctional, just to be
Yeah.
real, the
Yeah.
dysfunctional aspects of my family, not to mention the just amazing music that
Right.
I sort of vaguely knew who Prince was because I was like a preteen when it came
Got
out
you.
in the summer of '84. So when the movie came out, I just became an instant, just like millions of people all over the world.
Yeah.
Again, the recurring theme in my Mount Rushmore of movies is pursuing dreams.
Yeah.
So, the kid, as Prince's character was known, he wanted to be a rock star, and he was in real life, but it was just
Right.
about not only him, but his love interest, Apollonia.
Yep.
She wanted to be a star. So it was all about pursuing dreams. And the fact that they're doing a Broadway version of Purple Rain that actually debuts this fall shows that 40 years later, the movie is still relevant.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen that movie in too long. I'm gonna have to watch that soon.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that haven't aged well for the 21st century, the domestic violence and
Yeah.
a scene where Morris Day puts a woman in a trash can, the
Yeah.
kind of like stuff that nowadays is looked at as
You're like,
not only looked at as, but is rightfully seen as misogynistic.
yes. Yes.
Those things haven't aged well. But for Generation X, Purple Rain was definitely one of the cultural
Oh yeah.
touchstones for sure.
Hmm.
And I said I was going to go chronologically and I actually skipped one. So my second one actually, although I'm saying it in the third in order, but
Yeah.
second movie chronologically, this is another female-centered movie, is Flashdance. And again, the recurring theme
Yeah.
of people pursuing
Going after
dreams.
your dreams.
Now,
That's
what's
a good
interesting
one.
is I didn't know when the movie came out that Jennifer Beals was biracial. Uh,
Oh
Yes, because the movie never mentions race. And
no.
in the movie, Jennifer Beals is very white presenting. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's intentional or if when she was cast, the producers just didn't know she was biracial because
Right.
she has olive skin and curly hair, but she looks like she
Yeah.
could be Italian or Latino
She just
or
looked like she fit in the 80s. Like
yeah, yeah, exactly,
honestly,
exactly.
70s, 80s.
Yeah. So what's interesting is after this movie, I never saw it in the theater. I only saw it on cable TV.
Okay.
I remember being over my grandparents' house my grandparents partially raised me.
Mhm.
So there used to be this TV show called Ebony Jet Showcase that was like a video version of Ebony and Jet magazine.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like Entertainment Tonight for Black people. So
Right.
I remember it was the end of 1983 when Flashdance came out, and they were doing like a roundup of like the most significant moments in Black culture of the year. And they were like Flashdance starring Jennifer Beals. And I'm like, why is this movie on the list?
Yeah, you like
And then they
what?
said I don't remember the exact words, but they were like, this movie stars a Black woman, Jennifer Beals. And I was like, wait a minute. And even though I came from an interracial family, even though I have
Yeah.
siblings who look like her, I never connected the dots and said, "Oh, this is a Black girl,"
Mm.
because she doesn't look phenotypically Black,
No.
as we just said, or not stereotypically Black, and
Yeah.
she doesn't have a quote unquote Black scent. She
No.
talks
Yeah.
in a very, very proper kind of way in the movie. So
Hmm.
just even me who came from an interracial family and saw all different shades of Black growing up, even I was like, oh my God, this is a
Hmm.
Black girl in this movie. So no
Yeah.
wonder it kind of spoke to me.
Sure. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
happens. You like you realize you get drawn into things, and sometimes you don't realize why, or you think
Yeah.
you know why, and then there's more to it than you realize. So that's
But
dope.
but also I think we as Black people tend to think that we have like this Black radar. Like I've heard Black people say like, "Oh, I knew Vin Diesel was Black," even though he
Yeah.
doesn't talk about race very much. We like to think that we can look at people's facial features or the way they
Hmm.
carry themselves and say, "Oh, I know they got some Black in them," or
Yeah.
their grandfather must have been Black, or like my aunt to this day insists Paula Abdul must be Black, and she's hiding it. It's like black people like to think that like we have this like sixth sense to be able to tell even if someone is like quote unquote passing, that we can
Right.
tell because look about we can just sense something about them and tell that they're part of our community, but that's not always the case.
No, I will say I'm pretty good at it, but I know I'm not like spot on. Like
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be like I'm actually looking at a picture of her right now, and I'm just like, no,
A
no,
picture of Jennifer Beals.
yeah, Jennifer Beals. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
I don't think I would have said maybe. And like
yeah,
now I'm
yeah,
thinking about it, I'm like, she kind of looks like some of my cousins, but I'm like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
and a lot of her roles have been quote unquote raceless roles where she's usually paired with a white man as her mate. And it wasn't
mm,
until she did the series The L Word, where Pam Grier played her half sister, where she
mm,
finally got to play. Well, I take that back. She did Devil with a Blue Dress, and that's about a biracial character passing as white,
got
or a
you.
light-skinned character passing as white.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And see,
Yeah.
it's funny. Now I'm looking at a picture of her for the 40th anniversary. And
Okay.
like, she kind of like, I'm looking at her picture when she was in Flashdance and looking at a picture of her now, I guess.
Yeah.
And she does look black in the old, like
Okay.
being older. I don't know.
Interesting.
Take it with
Interesting.
what you want, you know?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like maybe with age, people become more of like what they are, or
yeah. Or she's just
her.
leaning into it more.
Yeah, yeah,
I
maybe
don't
that's
know.
it.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Okay, so
yeah.
fourth one.
So the fourth one is again this theme of people pursuing dreams.
Yep.
La Bamba, the movie La Bamba.
Oh,
Yeah, when it
yes.
came out in '87, I never saw it in the theater. I only saw it on
Right.
cable TV. For some reason, this movie just spoke to me on every level. It was like I
Mhm.
related to Richie Valens because I was kind of a squeaky clean kind of kid who
Yeah, yeah.
had friends and like cousins who were like the older brother character who was kind of like a bad boy who would
Yeah.
like try to like get me to come out of my shell a little bit. And the music, and for some reason, even though I wasn't raised around Latinos, I wasn't raised around Spanish speaking people, I've always related to like Latino culture. I'm learning
Yeah.
to speak Spanish. And it just sort of, I was already taking Spanish in high school, and it just sort of awakened this like love of Latin culture and music in me. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
every time it was on TV, I would just run to go. And I actually got to meet Lou Diamond Phillips. He came here in a Broadway
Whoa,
show. I think it was The Man of La Mancha.
that's
And yeah, I told him how much I love La Bamba, and he was very cool, a little bit reserved because I'm sure millions of
sure.
people come up and told him that. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, the theme of people pursuing dreams. And I just thought it was so like the ending is so tragic, but also
It
kind of
is.
blown away when his character dies. Well, not
Mhm.
character, real life
Yeah,
kid,
yeah,
Richie Valens.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So those are
Love
my four. And except for Wizard of Oz, they're all about people of color pursuing dreams in the arts.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, they're all musically related in some way, right?
Yeah, yeah. Wizard of
Yeah,
Oz
so
is a
there's that
musical.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No,
And
that's
while I'm not a musician, I love music.
I mean, you're human.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I feel like any human being is like, yeah, music. Let's put some music on. Then it's just figuring out what are we putting on. That's the difference. But no, that's really cool. I love that. That's a great four
Thank you, thank you.
for sure.
Yeah, and Malcolm X, that was very influential to me as well.
Hmm.
Not just because I've always admired Spike Lee, but I think
Right.
I had read the autobiography of Malcolm X,
Hmm.
knowing that the movie was coming out, and that
Yeah.
had a profound impact on me. And
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
Malcolm X's like fearlessness and
Yes.
in trying to secure rights for Black people, and then his transformation where he went from hating white people to realizing like
Man.
we're all in this together and we all have to learn how
Yes.
to get as trite as that sounds, but
Well, there were. Well, I mean, it's beautiful because I think Alex Haley, as well as Spike Lee, do a phenomenal job of showing his multiple transformations
yeah,
that he went through.
yeah,
Because like like even in just like the shift in tone from when he went from Detroit Red to Brother Malcolm to Malcolm X after going to Mecca and think like it was just amazing to see the shift and change. And here's the other thing: all three versions of him are very relatable to Black people.
yeah,
Just because, like, we all know, like, hey, we want to go out and do those things and have fun. Not saying do the same things that he did, and he even warns against that, like as a cautionary tale. But we all
right,
want to do those things and have a good time and enjoy life. And just be. And then we also have those moments where we want to stand up for something, and then we have those moments where we realize, hey, what we're doing may not be the best way to do things, and continue to have the same thought process or even change it completely and continue down a thread of your life that means something to you. So it's yeah, Malcolm X is phenomenal. Like I had me and my fiance, we watched that because she had never seen it. And we watched that maybe a few months ago, and it was just like watching it for the first time for me.
yeah, yeah.
Great.
I think it's actually very underrated. Like when they talk
Yeah.
about like classic epic movies, Malcolm X should definitely be in there for sure.
Easy for
Yeah,
so many reasons.
yeah,
I mean, you can't take Denzel take Denzel away, but take him
mhm,
away. The supporting cast was phenomenal. Obviously the direction by Spike is phenomenal. Like the settings, like literally the locations that they choose, phenomenal. The fact that they actually went overseas and filmed his journey, like amazing.
yeah, yeah. And Coming to America, like you said, quotable. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know why the when they're in the barber shop and the shit, this ain't nothing but ultra perm. That
Yeah, and that off firm.
yeah, yeah,
I can't remember what you got in there. Oh, there's nothing
yeah,
but juices and
yeah.
berries. Oh, dude, that ain't nothing but off sperm.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
his
It
hair.
just
Gotta be $8. What?
yeah.
You gonna come clean
And-
up all these flowers? So good.
yeah, yeah, so many classic scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you happen to see the sequel that came out during the or didn't come out, but was on Amazon during the
Yeah, yeah.
pandemic?
I did, and I feel like the parts that were the funniest to me and the most impactful were references to the first one.
All
That's
right.
personally how I felt. Other people that may have really enjoyed it and liked it, good. I'm glad. I'm so happy you did. But I feel like the first one overshadowed it so much.
Yeah.
So I like the premise. Like he has a son, and I don't know, it kind of worked, but the first one is just the OG is the OG for a reason for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a classic for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, for sure.
And like you said, V for Vendetta,
Classic.
unfortunately, still very timely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember. I watched the movie first because I was huge into the Matrix series, and I saw
Mm-hmm.
that the Wachowski brothers were coming
Yeah.
out at the time. The Wachowski brothers were
Yeah.
coming out with another movie, and I was like, I'm in. Like, I don't even know what it's about, but I'm in. So I watched it, and it was not at all what I expected because I was expecting it to be like the Matrix, like action packed and sci-fi and da da da, and it wasn't. And it still was such like it impacted me so much just to see it and I did see it in theaters, which was great. But then I was like, wait, there's a comic? I got to read it. So I read the graphic novel and I fell in love with that. And I've had a copy of that since I don't even know how long, like for the long, probably since I saw the movie. But yeah, V for Vendetta is just a classic movie that should not be relatable.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, it is, but
Unfortunately,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah. You know what's interesting to me is that both our lists, we had movies that either feature Black people or
Mhm.
were directed by Black people. And the reason I raised that question or I raised that point is that I was listening to, in my course of learning Spanish, I listened to a lot of Latino podcasts.
Yeah,
And I don't want to say the names of these two people that were on this podcast because I don't want to put them in a bad light. But
sure.
they had a similar podcast theme as to what we're talking about, like their Mount Rushmore of movies.
Mhm.
Neither one of them named a movie by a woman director, a Black director, or a Latino director, which I was surprised at. It was all like the classic white guys like Spielberg,
Yeah.
Coppola, Brian De Palma. And I was just like, I can't imagine two Black podcasters talking about the movies that had the most impact on them and not mentioning
Right.
even a movie it doesn't necessarily have to be made by a Black filmmaker, but at least starring a Black actor.
Yeah.
And
Ah,
do
that's
you think
interesting.
that maybe as Black people, we just have more of a sensibility to, I don't know, that we need to highlight the work that Black creatives have done, that we just can't sit here and, just have colorblind taste or whatever?
That's first off, that's a great question in terms of just thinking about film and shows and movies and all of that. I think we go toward what we connect to. And
Yeah,
it's very interesting that those two folks, which I know you're leaving nameless, which we definitely still can,
yeah,
but it's interesting that those two folks didn't mention anything that really connects to them.
yeah,
So for me, like something like, and you mentioned Spielberg, so let's just say Jurassic Park, right?
yeah.
Um, I love Jurassic Park. Do not get me
I do
wrong.
too. Yeah,
Fantastic. And I connect to it in such a variety of ways. But the reason that I wasn't going to include it in my Mount Rushmore is because it doesn't impact me like the other four do.
yeah,
If I rethought it, I could maybe have a Mount Rushmore of science fiction movies and maybe it would make it, right? If I sat and thought about it. But for me, like the pieces that I connect to with like now, V for Vendetta isn't a movie that has any black people in it. In fact, it mentions how they eliminated and eradicated black people.
uh-huh.
But I connect to it because there's a plight that's there.
Hmm, hmm.
Part of it is like this, that was the end of the plight being, destroyed. And that's something that as black people we can connect to because in not just America, but across the world, we have consistently been fighting battles for not just equality, but just to be seen as human, which is
Yeah,
insane. But for me, looking at Malcolm X, like I directly connect to Malcolm X because he's fighting a battle. He was fighting a battle on my behalf, right?
yeah,
On our behalf.
yeah,
I mean, I look at Coming to America because it showed black people in a light that we weren't typically shown in. Like we were
yeah,
literally royalty in that movie, right? And
yeah.
everybody knows that Eddie Murphy's American as well as Arsenio Hall. So to be
Right.
able to see him in that role is like, oh, we can be princes and we can be kings and queens. So it was really great to be able to see that representation. And I don't know. I just think that I have to mention black movies because
Yeah,
as a black man, I make black things just because I'm black. So I
yeah,
feel absolutely necessary to show that I have that connection and I have these things that come as inspirations. There's been so many people that came before us that worked too hard for me not to have positive examples. It'd be one thing if like we were the first. Then it's
yeah,
like, well, what do we have as an example? We don't. We're creating them. That's different. But we have so many examples that serve as inspiration and motivation for us to create the things that we make and to pull from. And then if I'm looking at movies that I connect to, I need to see people that look like me. I
yeah,
need to see people that behave like me. I need to see people in situations that even if I'm not in them, I could imagine myself in them and then fight and work through. And I don't always get that from The Godfather.
yeah, yeah,
Phenomenal movie. I
yeah.
love The Godfather. But I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm from Youngstown, Ohio originally. So like
Okay.
there's mob connections there. So I see it and it was
Yeah.
like interesting to see connections that way. But the mob wasn't letting black people in. Like
Right,
so
right.
it's like,
I
I
would
mean, I
imagine a
get it.
lot of them were pretty racist or are
Yeah.
pretty racist. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, even in the movie, they say, you know, they're very demeaning to black people. So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I can't put that in my top. In terms of how they created something and made this motion picture, mad respect. But to connect to it in the way that some people do, it's not going to.
In part two of my conversation with Ira, we'll delve into the good, the bad, and the ugly of being an African American actor and model in the entertainment industry. That's next time on the Culture Beats podcast. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to my channel.